Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday night show and share. This is where we love to share our projects in whatever stage they may be, even if it's the trash can because they were total fails. We like to hear about those too, or they're just beginning. So, Joe, I think you have some that are past beginning. Joe Pardue? Yes. His is called Salad Machine.
Yeah, right. So my making thing is I make food from dirt. Anyway, that's funny. Okay, come on. Now my phone won't go, it won't turn it sideways. Damn phone. Okay. I may have shown this already. Some of this is a duplicate of other talks because I'm old and I don't remember what I've already talked about. But this particular tomato is actually what this is going to be from this guy right here. In about 2 weeks, it'll start producing tomato plants, and they're going to look like that. Those are 4-inch pots, and there's 14 of them in a nursery tray, which is 11 by 20. To give you an idea. And they are, yes, completely covered with that little tomato right there that's heart-shaped. It's about 1 inch wide, and it's called a baby. It's a micro-dwarf, and some guy at bunny hop seeds found them in Eastern Europe. They were Russian, baby, and he's selling them. Anyway, it's the smallest tomato plant that I've been able to find. And so I'm growing those, and I'm growing lettuce. Well, let me show the lettuce. I'm going to show you the salad machine as soon as I can figure out what I'm doing. What am I doing? Oh no, there. Okay, let's go. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. What happened? Damn it. Okay. This is my salad machine, and it's chrome wire shelves. There's 6 shelves. They're 18 inches by 48 inches, and I grow lettuce, tomatoes, starch. That's my pepper starch for the garden. And there's some lettuce, which I'll show you in a minute. More tomatoes. 6 shelves. That's fennel. And like I said, it's 6 shelves, and I am stating that in one room in your house with one of these shelving units, you can keep 2 people in salads 5 times a week, 2 salads, easy. If it's a little bit of a management issue, like it takes, say, 5 weeks to have your salads grow out, so you have to plant them early enough so that they don't all come up at one time. But these are 2 salads. These things are gorgeous. I mean, in my opinion, which right now, since I've got the microphone, is the only opinion that matters. See these? Are they pretty? Yeah, well, I'm going to have them out here on the table, and people can look at them. I'm not going to pass them around because, somebody's going to want to eat them. Let me show one other thing real quick here, since this is about making. I had some old fluorescent bulbs in my garage that were sitting there, and I was going to throw them away, and then I noticed I had a pile of lumber in my garage, which I was going to throw away. So I decided to make a couple of light things, which are not really easy to see what this is. This is a triangular shape for growing a tomato indoors with the fluorescent bulbs along the sides so that the tomato will grow up between the fluorescent bulbs. And next to it is well, that's kind of what it looks like. And I made the top with the triangle the same as the bottom, and then the first thing I did walking out of the room was ram my head into that corner. So I cut it off because, you know, it really doesn't need to be on the top. And then this guy, that's a higher picture. And of course the light, this is the camera's fault. This guy on the left here is two of them, and I'm growing cucumbers there. So I'm growing indoor cucumbers. And I've actually done that and gotten one cucumber so far. One other thing before, one more thing. I had this. Okay, well, I guess I'm out of stuff to talk about. All right, I brought seeds for the baby tomato. I bought little packets, 5 seeds each, and I bought a handout that's 2 pages, and this tells you how to grow the seeds. I will give anybody 5 seeds or 10 seeds, it depends on whether I run out or not. And this is tells you how to grow them, and I have a little, I have a Google Doc that's got 84 pages with information on 12 dwarf tomato plants and 12 micro dwarf tomato plants that I'll tell you about out there. And anyway, so these are some more baby plants, more babies, and these are going to Tracy Baker because she gave me something, and I felt like, well, I need to give her something. Are there any questions? Oh, look at all the hands. Tracy? These guys, actually, I probably should have mentioned that. You were asking about this, right? They are not exactly cut and come again. They were bred specifically so that, well, it's kind of hard to see, but they go in the ground at one point. Okay, you stick a scissors in there, cut it off, and the whole head comes off. In fact, I've got, let me show a picture or two of this. This is so well organized. All right. This is an upside down picture, everybody awake, of 2 of them cut out in a, you know, salad bowl. And that's another one. And that's that previous thing. And that's a decorated, so that's my intent is to, like, I just take two out for me and my wife, 1 in each bowl, and, you know, put a little dressing on them and some sunflower seeds. Yes, wait. Okay, the tomato starts, this guy right here was started on February the 24th. So it's about, was that 5 weeks? Yeah, these smaller ones started a little bit. What? Things that are not hardened off yet, but are still in your trays that you plan on putting outside. When did you start? I started my outdoor tomatoes in February, late January, early February. In fact, that was too early. I got a lot of them that are about this tall, and I've stuck them in a corner, and they're going like, ah. You could put tomatoes out right now if you wanted to. You could have put them out 2 weeks ago, and they probably wouldn't have done too well. You can put them out 2 weeks from now, or 3 weeks from now, and you're only going to get your first tomatoes outdoors in June. I don't care when you put them out. So some people will put them out a month early. Some people, they'll put them out April the 1st and hope it won't have a freeze, and then other people put them out May the 1st. A couple of years ago, we had a frost on May the 7th, which was not too good. But they mostly just sit there and wait for the weather to get right, and then they'll take off growing. So, and I'll be out there to answer all kinds of gardening questions in a few minutes. Yes?
How much time do you spend with your sewing machine maintaining it per week or per day?
Oh, you know, That's a good question. If you were just, I'd say no more than 2 hours a week. If you were just going to have a salad machine just for 2 people, that it would take about 2 weeks. If you're like me and you love them, and you know they're your pets, and you know I always say that the dandelion is my spirit animal. So, you know, I like them. I spend a lot more time with them. They're in my office, and I'm not going to say I talk to them because you already think I'm crazy. Yes.
I really like your system with the shop lights going vertical. Back in the day, I had something growing like that as well. Have you ever considered putting either mylar or aluminum foil in between it so you're not losing light, the walls aren't absorbing the light and you get more reflection?
Yes, I've got a roll of mylar bubble insulation that I can cut off a thing and put it there to reflect the light back. I haven't done it yet. I intend to do it. Those plants are, you know, they're just now getting started. And by the way, there's a thing called the purple tomato, which is the first GMO food that's being sold to the public anywhere in the world, and that tomato you saw is one of them. And I'll tell you all about that. Why on earth would I be growing a Franken tomato? I'll answer that outside if anybody's interested. Any more questions? Yes.
Have you tried LED lighting to more is there a big difference?
Okay, what I was calling the tomato machine on the shelves, those are all LEDs. And the only reason I used the fluorescent was because they were sitting in the corner of my garage, and they have been for 10 years, and I hate to throw things away that work. So I thought I would just let them. And have you priced fluorescent bulbs? If you have a fluorescent bulb go out, they are crazy. They're like $10 each or something. You know, it's like, no. They're about what, well, I'm not going to, you can get a LED bulb cheaper that'll last 50,000 hours, so why even do it? It's just I had them. Any more questions? Okay, thank you.
That's a great inspiration, Joe, and I really liked, it looked like for the cucumbers, you had vertical strings for them to grow up on, too.
Yes.
Yeah, you're set.
I have lots of hope for cucumbers. My wife loves cucumbers herself. I hate them. I made a mistake.
What is it they say, happy wife, happy life, right? Next up, we have Bob with a lithophane.
How many people are familiar with lithophane? Pretty good number. For those of you who aren't, it's this idea of projecting a light through a translucent object, and the thickness of the object takes away more of the light. So you can make an image where the thicker parts are darker than the thinner parts. And it used to be done a long time ago with alabaster, and it was hand carved. If you can imagine trying to carve in backwards so that the lighter the object, the deeper you dug. 3D printing makes that very easy, and so you get something like, and I don't know, let's see. Well, this is not going to show up very well, I don't think. That, oh,
Well, it's covered. The buttons are covered up. You just set it down.
oh yeah, that came out pretty good. Okay. It has a little bit more color than that. I was really amazed when I did it as to how well the colors and everything came out. And basically there's a website called It's Litho. You load the photograph up there, pick the shape that you want, and it'll come down with the instructions. And this picture only took 1,000 passes of the printer and you do it so that the bed moves in the Y direction, and you print it vertically so that that's the best resolution on my printer, is a vertical resolution. So that's what you got. Now, okay, it takes 4 hours to do this little picture. So about 3 hours in, I got that. And I decided just to let it go after I saw it. I said, well, this is going to be a demonstration of what not to have happen. I don't know why. Something happened. It stopped the forward motion of the Y-axis, and then it resumed printing, and everything went on from there. So it's shift left logical. So, any questions? Yeah.
Does that website give you the code to upload?
They give you an STL,
Okay.
okay, and I put that into the slicer, and they recommend that you use 99 perimeters and 95% infill and everything, because you don't want to have any holes projected through. But it was very, very simple. The website, you can get different geometric shapes. They will even do globes and cylinders and all kinds of things. And of course, they'll happily sell you light sources and things like that, so that you can create a display for it. I printed a little stand, and I told my sister, just put it near the window, let the sun shine through it. Anything else? Well, thank you.
That's great. And thank you for showing, bringing that trash can item in to share with us, because it happens to all of us. We keep on going. Next up, we have Randy Hyde with creating some custom soap molds.
About 10 years ago, my wife used to have a little hobby soap making business. Did a lot of melt and pour stuff. If you're as old as I am, child of the 60s, you might remember this toy here. A little vacuum form machine that, you put a little piece of plastic over here, it would heat it up. You'd flip it over and pump like mad, and it'd create these totally useless toys out of the thing. The toys it produced weren't very much fun, but it was a lot of fun making them, so that was about it. About 10 years ago, an outfit by the name of Maku came out with this thing called the Form Maker, which is basically an adult version of the same thing. You hook up a shop vac to the thing, and heat up a piece of plastic, drop it down, and it makes a mold.
I'm sorry. You were doing fine. And I messed up.
Here, go ahead and do your thing. I've got lots to talk about. I thought I'd get one of these and make some bespoke soap molds with it. The big problem with this approach was the fact that they had some PETG plastic sheets you'd use in there. They were 0.5 millimeter thick, and by the time you actually made a mold out of it, you were lucky to get 10 pours before the mold would crack and would be useless. So my idea of making custom molds for a business really didn't fly with this device. Probably could have found some other plastic a little bit thicker, but just gave up on it. Wound up making small little projects. For example, here's a little buck, a buck being the opposite of a mold that I 3D printed with my niece's name on it. I made her a bunch of soap bars for Christmas and let it go at that. About 4 or 5 years ago, just before the pandemic kicked in, the Maku people announced this other device. I can get the whole picture on here, called the Form or the Multiplier. And this is not a vacuum former, it's a pressure former. They have this huge hemisphere thing up here that they pump 4 atmospheres of pressure in, and that pushes the plastic into the mold so you get much finer detail. And I bought one of these things when they first offered them because I had a deal on the things. And this was just when the pandemic started, so it took them 2 years to get the thing to me because of all the supply chain problems and stuff like that. A couple weeks ago I decided I'm going to use that thing because I've probably used it twice in the 2 years that I've had it. And that was just to demo the thing. So I said, I'm going to make some soap. So usually with these 2 devices I've got, I'll start off trying to use the form maker. And here's the buck that I came up with that, with our little logo on the thing there. And all those holes you see in the buck are so that the vacuum can suck the plastic through the mold. Okay. Unfortunately, it didn't really work well. Here's the mold that I produced from that, and you can see there's no detail at all in that. So I immediately gave up and stuck this buck on the multiplier, and what had happened was the air pressure was so strong it kind of blew the plastic into the holes, and I couldn't demold the buck from the resulting plastic. So all these holes in there, which are great for the vacuum form, you don't want them there. So I made this guy here, which is a sort of a 2-dimensional version of the logo, or 2.25D version, and that worked a lot better. Now the first one of these I made, I banged it out real quick, stuck it on the form maker or the multiplier, and I totally crushed it. And when I say I crushed it, I mean I really crushed it. When I say I quickly banged this out, anybody that does any 3D printing knows that quickly is incompatible with 3D printing. 2 of the problems that I had with this is that I used a 5% infill rather than the 10% I normally go with. And the second problem is I took this right off the 3D printer, and it's an ABS part. Stuck it on the form maker so the ABS was still warm, since there's no cooling that takes place when you're printing with ABS. And so it got completely crushed. So I went back and redid this mold again. And this time I used a 15% infill, and I let it cool for a couple hours before I stuck it on the form maker. Now this won't fit under the little camera here, but what I've got here is one of the 2 molds that I made from this thing. The first couple of molds I made, I tried using high impact polystyrene. I ran out of that, so I switched to this stuff called EVA, which is nice because it's flexible, and what you can do is when the soap's in there, you can push it out and demold it very easily. Big problem with EVA, which you'll see if you get out there in a little bit, is the fact that it has a low melting temperature, relatively low. And if you pour hot soap into the mold, it kind of deforms the mold after a few pours. So I was, once again, too much of a hurry, and some of the soap bars got a little bit wobbly. But nonetheless, I did pour a whole bunch of these things. I've got probably about 30 of them in there. Feel free to pick up a sample on your way out. There's 2 fragrances on here. One is sandalwood, one is apricot. And if your skin is sensitive to fragrance oils, be careful with this stuff, because for custom soaps like this, I generally put about 3 to 4 times the amount of fragrance oil you normally put in it, because people generally don't immediately start washing their bodies with this stuff. They sit in them around and use them as potpourri and something to look at for a while. But if you want to smell like sandalwood or apricot all day long, feel free to wash right away with it. I started this because I'm trying to do some custom soap molds for a Mother's Day present to hand out at church next month. And I think I've just got about the EVA figured out. I've got to build some supports around the thing, and I bought a double boiler, so rather than sticking the soap in the microwave to melt it, so I can have it cooled down and not mess up my molds when I'm done.
Your plastics,
Part,
your plastics that you're using to make the mold, when you press it,
yeah.
you buy them online or is it?
This plastic comes from the manufacturer. Now, the form maker takes square pieces of plastic, and you can probably find them online and make them yourself if you like. The stuff for the form maker, or the multiplier, because that multiplier has a hemispheric dome, which for physical reasons is the best way to get the pressure on this thing, they're round. So I suppose you could buy 15-inch square stuff and cut this out yourself, but they sell about 8 different types of plastic for this thing. My only complaint is their PETG for the form maker is 0.5 millimeter thick. The PETG for the multiplier is 1.5 millimeters thick. If you tried to make a mold out of that 1.5 millimeter stuff, you cannot flex it at all, and it's just too strong. If they had 1 millimeter, that'd be perfect. Any other questions? Well, like I say, I'm going to set this out on the table. You guys can look at the molds. I'll pass a couple of the books around so you can see those. And I'll leave all the molds out there. They're a little bit big, and so you can just see them out there on the table. Any other questions?
Thank you, Randy, for not only keeping us clean, but smelling nice still, right? Next up, we have Neil Smith with One Man's Trash is Another Man's. Well, let's just see what Neil comes up with.
So yesterday on Mattermost, Sean from Arts and Crafts put something out there about a link to a video of a man who was using tree bark to make a dye for dyeing wool and yarn. And I have a piece of wood here that I thought he might be interested in if that's what he was doing too. It's kind of unique in the sense that it's a piece of wooden log that happens to be called logwood. That's the name of the tree. So I put it out there that if Sean was interested, I had this wood, suggested that he look up what it was used for and how they make dye out of it. And let's see, had an interesting exchange, whereas, right side up, yeah. Oops. So I offered it, and in the end there I said we can put it on the lathe to make shavings for the dye bath. And Martin Webster came back and said, Neil, is this the only kind of wood turning project where the turning is complete only when there is no more wood left to turn? It's an interesting question, and I thought about it, and I replied to him, funny you should ask that. At tonight's show and share, I'm showing a project that involved turning and using up the last of the wood from another project. I have bins full of small, unusual, and/or exotic cutoffs, aka scraps, that will eventually be reincarnated into something on the lathe. So, after thinking about that, and started thinking, well, what else involved in wood turning leaves nothing behind? And pull this up real quick. This is in my workshop, just one of the bins of scrap wood that I have. That's another bin, shelf with a bunch of scrap wood.
That's more than a bin.
That's not a bin, that's a, yeah. Ironically, 2 weeks ago I was on Amazon, and I promise you, Sue, this is PG. Came across this t-shirt, which says,
Can you stand in front of your other piece of wood there so the camera can...
okay. So I started going back through and thinking, well, What are these little pieces of wood used for? In this particular case, I like to do little turnings. And right down there, you can sort of see is actually a quarter to give you a size comparison. Sometimes I'll turn a little piece to see if I like the shape and design before I do a big piece. I also sometimes save the sawdust and the shavings and so forth. And because they have interesting colors, I will be turning two woods at the same time, and I'll have a contrast between a light wood and a dark wood, or it just comes out with an interesting texture, like this. And my plans for this someday is start mixing it in with resin and using those as turning blanks. So here's a good another classic example of you turn until nothing is left. Last month, somebody was making a cutting board out in the woodworking zone. If anybody knows who was making this cutting board, I'd really like to know who that is. In the scrap pile there, these offcuts were tossed in the scrap pile. If you're familiar with the working zone, there is one bin now, just one bin, where the scrap wood goes. And I went ahead and took those pieces, because there are no such things as scrap wood, just small turning pieces and turning blanks, and I made this piece out of it. So just another example, and I'll pass this around, start this going. So I think there may have been some confusion. We put up a sign in the scrap bin that says, practical scrap wood only, because we were getting a lot of little bits and pieces in there. But that just goes to show that a piece of scrap wood is what you can make it into. And you'll see that piece there. So giving you an update on what is happening wood turning. If you're familiar with the woodworking zone, we spent a lot of time cleaning it up, moving some things around. The lathes are now hopefully in their final position. It's all set up for convenience. We did last month a whole bunch of classes, just the 101 or the 102 classes, which are authorization for using the lathes. And now we're going to go back to doing the 202 classes. And I now have a co-instructor with me. He's not my assistant, he's my co-instructor, Randy Gleckler, who is a very accomplished wood turner in his own right. And it's great that the two of us teach the class at the same time. Taking turns going back and forth, and you get somewhat of a two-view of how to do something in the lathe. And we are going to be scheduling, we're going to go back to doing the 202 class, which works with hollow forms such as bowls and the more dimensional pieces other than just spindles. So watch your calendars. They will be coming up sometime soon. We just have to decide what days are appropriate. And it will be up hopefully in the next week or two what the new classes will be, or next classes will be. Any questions? Okay.
I do.
Yep.
Can you give us an update on the laser hilt challenge?
Okay.
Minus the deadlines.
Well, we have a deadline. If you're not familiar with the laser hilt, not the laser hilt, these
Lightsaber, I'm sorry.
lightsaber. Thank you. If you're not familiar with the lightsaber, that is a competition we have going to see who can make the most interesting, amusing, or outstanding lightsaber. And the deadline for that will be April 30th, which will be show and share night. Everybody will bring their lightsaber, and we'll take a picture of it. It'll go on the channel that is dedicated to the lightsaber contest. And people, members, will have an opportunity to vote on it. Whoever gets the most, and not only members get a chance to vote on it, but on May 5th at the Makers Market that we're going to have here, the public will be invited to vote on the lightsaber of their choice also, because we will have the actual ones put out on display. So it will be between members and public to decide who has the best lightsaber, and whoever ends up with the best lightsaber, which will be announced the following show and share, which will be the 8th or 9th, I think it is. Let's see, 5,
Something following the dead.
6, 7. It'll be 7th. It will be May 7th. Whoever has the best lightsaber is going to walk away with $100. So how many people in here are making lightsabers? Yes, okay. We're looking forward to seeing it. Next show and share, I'm going to bring a couple of mine. Now, I already said because there's a conflict of interest, I will not be entering my lightsabers in the contest, but these ideas that I had were just too good not to make them. So I'm going to bring them next week, and you'll have a chance to see what this strange mind can come up with in the way of a lightsaber. Now, any questions? Nope? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Neil. And the other thing I'll bring up is that it's not just for wood turners, it's for any zone. So Fiber Arts will have something there for sure. Now, I can't leave lightsabers without bringing up Russell with light. So why don't you come on up, Russell, and show us your electric trumpet? Are we turning musical now?
Yes, I am musical. I know people expect a light, but thanks to Dave, he sent me some, I can't see anybody. There you are. He sent me some people actually last summer, and I just now got around to getting this job done. It's actually a work in progress. It is a trumpet, but it is an electric trumpet. You can have electric guitars, electric drums, electric this, that, and the other. Why can't you have an electric trumpet? So that is what we made here. It's not done yet, but it does actually plug in. If I could get somebody to plug this in for me while I stand back. I was afraid of that. Okay. Okay. This is an old box that contains a light bulb. So we'll see what happens here. Oh. And I've got to find a shade too. Like I say, this is a work in progress. Dave helped me with, I took the valves out. I thought it was a solid piece. Those suckers are hollow. They're hollow. I didn't expect that. I thought that was weird. They said, yeah, you can cut it with your Dremel tool. And I'm thinking, man, that'll take forever. And it was zip. And I put something in here. Now, over here, will be the actual music holder, so that they can put whatever music they want. Actually, to turn the light on, you touch the mouthpiece, like so. And that begs the question, what's the knob for? And that is for the light that will light up the music. And also, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the light coming out of there? Anyway, yeah, ground effects. That's something called a nude, which is not like me in the river. It's short for noodle, which is an LED flexible, it's like a noodle, but it lights up. So to finish, I've got to finish the valves, get a shade. I'm going to put some little finials on these holders here, get a piece of music for here. Yeah, so that's it. Electric trumpet. Questions? Oh, questions. Yes, sir. They are going to sit in here and be pretty. Yeah, I did want them at least to move in and out, so I'm going to make it so that I wanted to make them a switch, but I couldn't find a switch small enough to fit in this hole. So I'm still on the lookout for that. About that big around. I don't know. 3/4. Dave will know. How big is that hole? It's gonna probably be 0.6? Okay. Ish. Okay. Is there a half inch diameter switch? Yes, sir. Sweet. All right. So I may have something to show next week too. All right. Let's see, there's another question, yeah. I just split, I don't know if you can see this or not. I split the input. This is a mess. I don't use wire nuts. I did this just so it would work tonight. Let me zoom out. Oh, that's a knee slapper. So the power coming in, I actually split with this socket. This is a socket. So if you'll see coming out of the socket is it's hot going in, but two hots coming out. One for the lamp up here and one for the little 6-volt transformer to light up the LEDs. So I'll leave this out here so you can touch it and play with it and stuff, but I don't recommend you go inside because, like I say, I wire nutted it just so it would work tonight, and I haven't electrocuted myself many times, but there is that possibility. Okay. All right, electric trumpet, thank you. Thank you, Sue.
Your stuff is always so illuminating.
Is she tooting your horn?
Oh, okay. All right, classes. This Saturday, we have Moonraker, 101 author class. And then next Tuesday, we have new members onboarding. You won't get another chance until the April 25th on a Thursday night, 7 to 9. Wednesday, 10 to 1 during the day is a TIG class. I don't know if there's any tickets left. Plenty of tickets left. All right. So if you want to take your skills up from MIG to TIG, sign up. Saturday is Stitch and Bitch, so we start at 1. It's a social time. We bring your fiber projects, we chat, we talk about movies and food and sewing and just whatever. Sunday is the virtual board meeting, and I don't mean you're going to be bored, it's the board meeting. And, you know, I got to just say, the market is coming. The market is coming. Yeah. So I don't know if we have any more of these out there on the tables, but hopefully we'll get some and you can leave them. Your local vendor will be happy to leave them at their place of business to help promote the market. We also need volunteers, so look for that channel in Mattermost. Neil gave us an update on the lightsaber. Thank you. Lori, did you have any updates for us on your project? All right.
I don't have as many this is for the Flourish Fashion Show. I don't have as many updates as I'd like because I had mechanical issues. So my sewing machine was not behaving, and my friend's sewing machine is not behaving either. But
Oh, so you came to use ours, so it won't work anymore.
well, you know, I'm kind of getting frustrated. I'm telling you. There's a reason I like hand sewing, because it's just predictable-ish. So I cut all my fabric to be either 10 inches, 15 inches, or 20 inches to be able to make a huge skirt. And the whole idea is to sew a basting stitch down the side of it so that I can gather it and then measure it to make sure it fits across. Well, I'm sitting here doing this the whole time during show and share, and the thread broke, and it's taking so long to just do one of them. And I'm like, okay, if I just did it by hand, with my super thick thread at home, with my needle, while I'm watching a show, I can get down a lot faster, I think. I think. So considering I have probably about 45 of these to do, to go across, we'll see which works better. So if not, I'll be spending a lot of time here over the next couple, I have less than 2 weeks to do this, guys. So wish me luck. The other thing I'm doing is I'm making a bunch of cones or horns or spikes, whatever you want to call it. So taking fabric, it isn't all animal print, just part of it's animal print. That's how I'm feeling today. I got leopard shoes on too. So just taking this, whether it's that or this is a half circle. So making spikes for Travis's jacket, or this is for June. So June will be wearing this adorable little thing, and she'll have spikes all over it. And so she'll have baby spikes, and Dad is gonna have bigger spikes all over his denim and black fur jacket. So yes, so I'm working on it. I have a lot more free time these next week and a half. So let's, fingers crossed, guys. I got some buttons. I got some jewelry that was brought in, some fishnet. So just see it happen. All right. So any questions? You can do it. I can do it. Yes. And it's taken a long, and I'm starting way ahead of time. So not giving you my regular 48 hours to work straight through, which is what I typically do. So I'm learning. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you for that, Lori. So how about some volunteers to change the filters? I think we haven't changed the filters in Bay 2 for a while. They could probably use it. And then we need the filters changed in the wood shop as well. So anybody that's willing to do that, we can hook you up with somebody that knows how. So stay after, come up front, and we'll get it together. But before I turn you, any newbies that have any questions, see anybody with the red badge? And they can answer your questions or give you a tour if you still need it. I don't know if there's any other new people in the crowd. Then keys. If you were planning on seeing Tracy tonight to get a key, come forward and I will help you out. But before I let you go out in the shop, I thought I'd start something really different. I had a member come into the fiber area and lay this tool down to work in fiber arts. Yes. So that person is not allowed to say what it is yet. But anybody care to take a guess of what you can make do with? Jason. That's a good one. Wes. Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering.
Seal plastic bags.
Sealing plastic bags. Ooh, and it wouldn't melt maybe to the... Now this is in fiber. All right. Yes, Jared. That's another good one. I think pressing ribbons was probably the closest. Thank you for showing me this trick. She had small pieces of fabric that she was sewing together and pressing the scraps with them. So much better than getting up and going over to the big iron every single time to use this and just run them through. So ribbon or little scraps, she was feeding them through that way. So I would challenge any of the czars or board members to come forward next week with a tool that you make do to see if you can stump the audience. Yeah? And on that note, go out and make. Let's get creative.